Okay, so if we finish it, we won't finish it today. If we finish it tomorrow, tomorrow's Friday, the homework will be due on Tuesday. If we finish it on Monday,
Let's do it.
it's due on Wednesday.
Wait, like the whole pack. No, the page of homework.
lesson,
Oh, gotcha.
okay? So
it's one
P1,
thread.
we never do a whole packet, we do a page at a time. Okay, so let's say we finish it tomorrow. Okay, so you know that homework's due Tuesday. You can turn it in Monday, you can turn it in tomorrow, I don't care. But it has to be turned in by Tuesday at the end of the school day. Okay, so you'll do it, you'll rip it off, just this page, because you're only turning in this page. You'll rip this page off, and you'll put it in that yellow platter right there on the shelf. That's the pre-cal plate, and you will, that's where you'll put it. Anything you want me to see goes in that plate, okay? And then I'll grade it and so on. Now, when we grade our homework, did I take this from you? When I grade your homework, I grade it to make sure that you've made your best attempt. It's not accuracy. We practice football and show choir and theater. We practice to get better, right? Homework is practice. We're gonna practice it to get better. So if you miss it, it's okay, I'm gonna mark it wrong, but you're still gonna get full credit if you gave it a good attempt. At some point, a few days later, I'll post the answers, and you can go through and see what you did wrong. Or you can come to office hours to see what you did wrong. Or I always keep a copy of the answers up here. You're welcome to come in and look at my answers and see, figure out what you did wrong. Or if you're not sure how to do it, come in and we'll work on it. Okay? So, want this to be completely crystal clear. I'm giving you an extra day to get the homework done because I know what your schedules are like. I had 4 kids that went to school here. They were active and involved. I know how busy you can be. There might be nights because of an extra long practice or there were 2 or 3 different club activities or whatever. You don't get home until 9 o'clock. So I'm giving you an extra day. But then it's due the next day. Whether we have class or not, because there'll be some days we don't have class, right? Whether we have class or not, it's due. So if I say to you, it's due on Tuesday, I don't care if we have B on Tuesday or not, it's due on Tuesday. So you will have to find your way up here and drop it off at some point during the day, or you can take a picture of it and send it to me electronically. I do not do that Schoology stuff. I mean, I post stuff in Schoology, but I don't grade through Schoology. So if you want to send me something electronically, you take a picture of it and email it to me. Okay? And it's by the end of the school day. Now, I always have the door open. If you happen to be wandering by your resource or something, and you want to drop off your homework, but I'm having class, it's fine with me. Just walk in quietly, drop it off, and head out. Your kids will be doing that during our class period, and that's fine with me. Now, if there's another teacher teaching in here, and there will be 2 periods, another teacher, then don't do that. Do not interrupt another teacher's class. You can come in for mine, but not for somebody else's. Okay? All right, everybody understand the homework? So if I finish the lesson on Monday, it'll be due on Wednesday. And it's 2 school days. So we throw Labor Day in there, that doesn't count. Okay, only school days count. You good on that? Okay. If you're ever absent, you'll see I already walked back and put my extra copies in that crate on the floor that says honors. If you're ever absent, that's where you'll pick your stuff up. Don't come in and say, Mrs. Ford, I need a handout from yesterday. No, I'm not your babysitter. Take care of yourself. It's back there in the bin. Okay? This is my 42nd year, maybe I already told you that, at Cathedral. When you've been someplace that long, you probably have a reputation. Not exactly sure what my reputation is, but some people think I'm mean. And I want to clarify something. I obviously don't think I'm mean. I do enforce the rules though. So she's sitting there with gum in her mouth. It's day one. They've told us we have to give grace. Gum is not allowed in school. It's in the student handbook, not allowed in school. So, I'm not doing anything about it today. Probably not gonna do anything about it tomorrow, people without lanyards. But next week, if you choose not to follow a rule, I'm gonna call you on it. That doesn't make me mean, that means I'm doing my job, right? And I am committed to doing my job. So, 2 things. Last year, they said, Lisa, that's my name. Lisa, you call me Mrs. Ford. Lisa, you had more kids come to office hours than anyone else. Good job. Yes, I promote office hours. I want you here during office hours. But then they also said, Lisa, you wrote more infractions than anybody else. Yep, I probably did, because I pay attention to that. I'm not gonna catch you every time. I love math. So when I get on a roll, man, I'm like in the zone, or whatever you guys call it. I'm going. But if you catch my eye, then yes, you're going to get in trouble. So please, please, please make good choices, and we're gonna get along just fine. Tardies matter. I want you in your seat, ready to go when it's time to start class. Okay? So please don't lollygag. Be late to somebody else's class. Don't be late to this one. You have a lot of math to do. And honors pre-cal is a tough class, but a fun class. Okay? Okay. Do you have any questions for me? You say this over and over and over again, and then you start wondering, especially when you're 63, what did you leave out? So did I leave anything out? We're bringing our pink sheets tomorrow. You understand? Or not pink, they're gold.
It was about like, how often are like tests and quizzes in here?
At the end of every chapter. There might be a couple of chapters that we split, but generally speaking, every chapter. And you will know. And I'll have a review, we'll have one review beforehand. I tend to plow through the material pretty quickly, but then we have our review. And quizzes are sporadic whenever we have time.
You just answered my question.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're announced.
Okay.
The only time a quiz won't be announced is if you've made me mad. Like if we have, a bunch of people walking in tardy, or, something that shows disrespect for the class, then whatever I wanna do, I'm gonna do. But generally speaking, I want you to know, hey, we're gonna have a quick quiz over the first 3 sections. Now, I may not review with you, we're honor students. You can go home and review. We'll review for a test, but not in general.
For supplies, is it like, I think best to do a notebook and binder, or like?
You can do that however you want. The reason I said binder is because I'm gonna be, like, look what I gave you today. Okay, we're gonna get that, not every day, but we're gonna get a lot of papers. And you need a way of keeping it all organized. And binders seem to be a great way to keep papers organized. If you wanna do your own stuff in a spiral notebook, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, just like asking what people usually use.
Yeah, they use binders. Binders, yeah. I know they're big and clunky, and I'm not ever gonna collect your binder, so I don't care. I think it's the best way for you to keep organized, so that when it comes time to take that semester exam, which is over a lot of material, you'll have everything you need right there to flip through.
Oh, you ever have mid-chapter tests?
No, not. If I split a chapter, like, for example, chapter 6 is it kind of divides itself. So sometimes I split it, sometimes I don't, but it will be a test over these sections and then a test over these sections. Anything else you can think of? Well, again, sit where you want to sit tomorrow, sit by someone you like, because you're going to be stuck there until I learn everybody's name. These are whiteboard desks. You are absolutely free to write on the whiteboard desk. The markers are right back there in that thing. right there are the markers and the rags. We use rags when we erase these. We do take care of these. They were given to me by a donor. Someone bought them for me. It was the coolest thing ever. When they were getting ready to build the Innovation Center, they took us out to different places and to see other people's stuff. And I saw these for the first time. This has been like 5 years ago, maybe 6. And I just said, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Those are so cool. And next thing I know, this wonderful person says, how many do you need? I'll buy them for you. And so we're so fortunate, but we gotta take care of them. We have to take care of them. If you ever do something on the desk and you wanna take a picture of it to save it, that's perfectly okay. But otherwise, this is a no phones zone. We have no need for phones. And I'm not one of those teachers that's gonna collect them when you walk in the door until you use it. And then I'll collect them every day. And if I take your phone, you don't get it back till the end of the day. So just, okay. All right, let's get started. We have a lot to do today. A lot. Here we go. I'm looking at my notes. There is a ton of stuff. Here we go. All right. I'm going to use some abbreviations here. We got all right. Anybody know what any of these are? And you don't have to be in order, but you may know what any of these, the definitions of any of these number sets. These are sets of numbers. Anybody know what any of them are?
Like the whole numbers, like counting numbers, like 0, 1, 2.
Yep. The whole numbers are the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3. Now, natural numbers are also called counting numbers. And they are called counting numbers, the natural numbers, because when you were little and you were just naturally learning to count, chances are, unless you had a nerd mom like me, you didn't start with 0, you started with 1, right, when you start counting? So the natural numbers, or the counting numbers, are just like the whole numbers, except the whole numbers have a 0. 0 has a hole in it. That's how I remember. Okay, good. All right, what else? Who else knows something up here? Yep.
Integers include the negative numbers.
Exactly. So integers are the whole numbers and the negatives of the whole numbers, right? Those are called integers. Good. All right. What about something else? Yep.
Rationals for all decimals.
Be careful. Rational does not include all decimals. Rational includes repeating or terminating decimals. That's rational, repeating or terminating decimals. Now, another definition for rational is this set of A over B. So, in other words, all of the fractions where A and B are integers and B is not 0. I want you to know that definition too. So there's 2 ways to define rational numbers. Rational numbers are either repeating or terminating decimals. You know what I mean by repeating decimals, right? Like 0.3333, okay? So we got repeating decimals. We have terminating decimals, like 1.52, they stop. Those are rational numbers. Any repeating or terminating decimal can be written as a fraction of integers, like 11 over 6, or negative 5 over 8. Any rational number, repeating or terminating decimal, can be written as a fraction. Obviously, the denominator cannot be 0. Good. Okay, so we have 2 definitions for rational. All right, what about the others? Anybody know what the others are? Yep.
Irrational is like just the opposite, where like it's not repeating and it's
Mhm.
not
So
terminating.
non-terminating,
It's like ending.
non-repeating decimals. Can anybody give me an example of an irrational number? It is a decimal that doesn't stop and it doesn't repeat. What's an example? Oh, look, everybody knows. Pi is the most famous one. There are lots of others though. Can you think of another one, Tess?
Square root.
Any square root that doesn't, any square root that keeps the square root. So like the square root of 3 would be irrational. The square root of 4 is not irrational because the square root of 4 becomes 2. So if you lose the radical, you're rational. But if you keep the radical, you are irrational. There's one more really famous one that I know you guys talked about last year. I is the imaginary unit. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. E, Euler's constant. When did you talk about E last year? Euler's constant.
Oh, log.
Base of the natural logarithms. That's exactly right. When you studied your exponential growth, your compound interest, you used E. Okay. There are lots of others, by the way, but those are the 2 most famous ones. Okay, she mentioned I. I is another pretty important letter in mathematics. I is what we call the imaginary unit. It is the square root of -1, right? So a pure imaginary number is a number that can be written as bi, where b is an integer. I know, that's not right. B is rational, and I is the square root of -1. That is a pure imaginary number. Oh, time out. I'm missing that other thing. It's real. B's gotta be real. It can be irrational. You can have EI. It has to be real. B has to be real, and I is the square root of -1. So some examples would be 4i, -8i. You've seen numbers like that before, right? When you solve equations like x squared equals -4, and you took the square root of both sides, and you got x equals plus or minus 2i, remember that? That is a pure imaginary number. When you give a pure imaginary number a real component, then it becomes complex. Complex is anything in the form a plus bi, where a and b are real, and I is the square root of -1. It's the imaginary unit. So you can remember solving, like, especially if you were completing the square or using the quadratic formula, remember getting answers like 4 plus or minus 7i? Those are complex numbers. They look like that. They have a real piece and they have an imaginary piece. All right, so now we're going to practice. To which number sets do the following belong? -7.
Integers.
It's an integer. Whoa, it's something else.
Rational.
It's rational and it's real. Yep, it's real. If you are any kind, if you're rational or irrational, you're real. I think I may have left that off the list. But if you're rational or irrational, you're real. So -7 is an integer, a rational number, and a real number, and a complex number. Because isn't -7 this? So it's
Oh
an
my
integer, it's rational, it's real, and it's complex. Got it? Alright, next, square root of 32. Irrational, real, complex. 6. Well, it's everything except it's clearly not irrational, right? So, but it's natural, whole, integer, rational, real, complex. So the number 6 is natural, whole, integer, rational, real, complex. Yep.
Why are like the numbers like 6 and square root of 32 complex?
Because they can all have a +0i stuck on the end of them. 6 plus 0i is the same as 6, would you agree?
Oh yeah.
But it could be written this way. Every number that you know of is complex. Every number can be written that way. Square root of -4. Pure imaginary, complex. Because it is 0 plus 2i, square root of -4. So it's complex. And -2/3. Rational, real, complex. Yep, rational, real, and complex. All right, anybody have a question about any of those? All right, let's look quickly at the properties. Anybody know what any of these are? Oh, shoot.
Good morning, Iris. Just a quick announcement before our B period ends. Teachers, in addition to showing the videos during B period, please take a moment to go over the lunch schedule so our students know if they have first, second, or third lunch during B period. Thank you. Have a great first day.
Okay, so I believe the lunch period is the same as it's been. First lunch is English, social studies, fine arts, or any resource from Loretto or social studies hallway. Middle lunch is math, business, world language, and any resource up here. Third lunch is everybody else.
Do you know where 3 sections is?
All right, we'll start with our properties tomorrow.
Or 1?
And you're gonna bring your gold sheets signed tomorrow.
Where's the world history?